We are on a mission.
A mission to save and revitalize independent pharmacy.
On the Catalyst Pharmacy podcast,
You will get actionable business advice
hear stories from industry leaders,
and share a laugh with us.
fuel your passion for pharmacy.
One conversation at a time. Good morning, Mark. How are you?
Hi.
We were telling our favorite lawyer jokes, right? So a lawyer and a politician jump off a
You were telling a lawyer
cliff.
joke. I was telling a riddle type joke that has been now made into
Your
a
Halloween
Halloween joke.
Mine was more current.
Yeah.
So
I could tell you. I could tell you a couple of mine. So why don't you go?
all right, I'll give you mine and you can give me yours. So a lawyer and a politician jump off a cliff. Who wins?
No idea.
Everybody.
That's good. What do you call 400 lawyers at the bottom of the ocean?
Great start.
Exactly. What do you call a lawyer with an IQ of 40?
A not so great lawyer.
That's a good one. What?
Your Honor.
Your Honor. Oh, that's pretty good. Never tell that in court.
Yeah, I know. I hate to tell you how much. See, only lawyers really laugh at that because
until
they've lived it. You know, other people
Right.
it's just being
until
horrified.
they level up
frankly.
and become a judge, and then it's not as funny anymore.
Well, it's elected. I think
Yeah.
her mother-in-law got to be a judge in some small town, right?
Kind of. It's basically so like she can basically make the ruling for like, oh, your traffic violation. Yeah, here's the video. You're clearly guilty. We're not letting you out of it. But then it's like if it gets expedited above her, then it goes to the actual county judge.
Yeah. So she's like it's like a small claims court judge or a district judge or whatever. They call it different things in different states. What state are you in? Is she
Texas.
in? Okay.
And I think the population of the town is like 500.
Yep. And interesting. So you are a lawyer, but one of the good ones, right?
I'd like to think so.
I'm kind of a superhero. I'm super excited about this today. Something,
I am too.
something
Like,
we've
I
been
mean,
talking about for a long time.
You're hitting a really big topic in pharmacy, and you're supporting a lot of names in pharmacy and a lot of businesses. You're kind of like our version of Aaron Brockovich.
That's very kind of you. I actually have done a lot of work in the environmental space, so to speak, and I've actually worked in cases where Erin was involved. I've never actually met her. I've seen her on a lot of Zooms and stuff, but
Interesting.
I'm well aware. I'm well aware beyond the movie about what she does and what those cases are like, and I've handled similar cases to that. So,
Well, on the Zoom, was she anything like in the movie?
she doesn't look like Julia Roberts. Okay,
She
Now,
played.
what
So
Erin
she
looks
played
like-
herself in the movie. She did make a cameo.
She did, right?
Well,
she
she
played
didn't
a
play
waitress.
herself. She
Yeah,
played
she
the
had a cameo,
waitress.
yeah.
Yeah.
She played a waitress. She's buxom. She's definitely now. Of course, she's a lot older. The movie's like 20 years old, but she's buxom. But she does not look like Julia Roberts. No.
Yeah.
Okay,
Allow
so
me-
if this spurges on to its own kind of, you're like the Aaron Brockovich of
We're going to
pharmacy.
make a movie.
So movies made. Who do you want to play you? I'm getting George
that's
Clooney
funny.
vibes.
George
It's funny
Clooney, yeah.
because I was in another case involving the Toms River Childhood Cancer Cluster, and an earlier version of that, which was known as the Wilbur case, was made into a movie. So they asked me who I'd want to play if they ever made a movie out of Toms River, who I'd want to play me, and I'm a real old movie buff, and I said Montgomery Clift. Who's been dead for probably about 50 years.
Yeah, they'd have to use AI to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know of this group of actors. Ryan Gosling.
Aim
I
high.
don't know. Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks would always be a good
Yeah,
choice.
Tom Hanks would be
Oh,
good.
yeah, Tom
Hanks
Hanks
would
would
be
be
Can't
good.
go wrong
good.
with Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's favorite actors.
Yeah.
But realistically, it would probably not. It would probably be more of a character actor type playing me.
Yeah. So you watching a lot of Taylor Swift football?
So hang on, I'm
No,
gonna.
I don't. My daughter's a Swiftie, and
Yeah? She was a big.
She hates football, which of course she watched the last Sunday night game because Taylor was there.
Yeah, that game was the highest watched Sunday television show since the Super Bowl.
And I also read or somewhere on TikTok that like all the Kansas City Chief games have sold out because everybody's hoping to get a glimpse of Taylor there, and it's just so funny.
Wow.
Just like I wouldn't say it controversy. I would just say there's some guys that have expressed that this is not amazing. This is just a publicity stunt. It actually made for an interesting conversation last night between my husband and
A football fan.
who was a football fan. And I kicked it off and I went, Alexa, when's the next Taylor Swift football game? And Alexa goes, the Kansas City Chiefs are playing this team at this date and time. And he's like, no. This is a ploy that she's doing to sell her, to like help publish, market her and her movie coming out. And I'm like, Taylor doesn't need help with
Yes,
that.
she doesn't need that.
And I'm like, that movie is already sold out. 1, 2, there is nothing. Love Travis Kelce, but amazing player. I'm sorry, there's nothing that man could even dream of that would even touch the possibilities of adding or helping Taylor Swift's career.
All right, so send your hate mail to
Right.
Marcia Bivens at
Okay, let's do this.
football fans.
So let's you already helped me with this because I was like, I should have gone, hey
I created a
Alexa,
monster.
when's the next Travis Kelce concert? And it
You should have worn your jersey. You
should have worn my
Kansas Chief jersey. That'd been fun.
more of a Mahomes fan.
All right, so this is going to be a 2-hour podcast if we don't get down to business.
Yes.
So help me pronounce your name.
Cuker.
Cuker? Okay,
Cuker.
So Mark Cuker's a lawyer. Parents were Holocaust survivors.
Correct.
How amazing is that?
So they were, they came to the U.S. in August of 1949. My mom lost her entire family.
Wow.
My dad, my parents had been married, so she still had her husband, but she lost her brother, her sister, her father, everybody in her family. My father lost everybody but one brother who was his uncle who lived with us, and came to the U.S., settled in the Philadelphia area, and my dad had his own small business. We lived upstairs, the classic mom and pop store.
Nice.
I grew up upstairs from the store for 17 years.
And where was the store?
In Northeast Philadelphia.
Okay.
And, we sold bread, milk. It was an old-fashioned soda fountain, if anybody's old enough to remember those, where you actually sat and they actually made you a soda.
The syrup with the carbonation mix and yep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, put in the syrup, add the seltzer, ice cream, water ice, which is a Philadelphia thing. And so what is relevant about that experience was I saw literally what it's like to run a small business in a world even back then where the supermarkets and the big chains are competing with you. And ultimately, I found that experience be helpful in being able to relate to what independent pharmacies go through.
Right.
The only difference is they don't live upstairs, generally speaking. They're in a strip shopping center or some other kind of a place. But I certainly saw what that is like, and if I could just get right into it, if you don't mind, what shocked when I first was contacted by the pharmacies, what utterly shocked me was that the price of prescriptions is dictated to them by the buyer. My dad was not a wealthy man, but he sold a pack of cigarettes. He knew what he was going to get paid.
Right.
And he knew he was going to pay every single thing he sold. He may not sell as much as he liked. He may wish he could charge more, but he knew what he was going to make. So he never lost money on anything unless he deliberately said, I just want to get rid of this. I'll just, blow it out. But
Right.
What was such a shock was that in the pharmacy business, where you are dealing with extremely valuable inventory of, controlled prescription drugs, you don't know what until you run the script, you don't know what you're going to get paid. And it's, and the price is dictated to you by the buyer, who in some cases your competitor. So this was utterly mind-boggling when I first got my arms around, which is now a number of years ago. I now understand it, and I think to this day. I mean, I've been a customer of pharmacies for years. I've been in a pharmacy a million times with my prescription, have it filled. I had no idea what the hell was going on behind the scenes.
So give us a timeline.
Well, hang on. I want to know what you came out of a world of grocery. And my grandpa had a grocery store also, where he had basically milk, bread, and also sold barbecue and other stuff. And so how did you switch from small family-owned grocery into pharmacy?
Here I am living upstairs from my parents' mom and pop store, and I'm going to law school. And I get a law degree, and I move out, and they sell the store, finally. And they ultimately passed away a number of years ago. And so I'm now a lawyer. I'm practicing law for decades. And in my law practice, I wound up becoming a plaintiff's lawyer, meaning I represent people suing people, and generally working on a contingent fee basis, which means I'm not paid hourly. I only get a percentage of what I can recover from somebody. And in doing that, through a series of events, I wind up getting involved in a lot of cases that are unusual, that are kind of edgy, that are complex, that many lawyers wouldn't want to touch. But somehow I and my old firm were able to handle successfully. And many of those were environmental cases where people are, as in the Aaron Brockovich case, drinking contaminated well water, polluted by chemicals.
Right.
One of those was the Toms River case, which is the subject of a Pulitzer Prize-winning book.
Wow.
I actually, here we go.
Oh, yes.
I'm legit here, okay? Is this in focus?
Toms River.
Yep.
All right. That's going on my...
Yeah, the background blocking is taking some of that out.
Yeah.
It's not a person.
So anyway, it's this won a Pulitzer Prize for nonfiction in, 2013.
Very
well,
cool.
I know what I'm reading on the plane tomorrow.
It's well, if you're going to read the book, I'm going to suggest you may want to start. I don't show up to page 356, but if I were you, I would
ignore
start,
that part before I got in it.
No. Seriously, it's pretty dense, but start at page 251.
Okay.
Which is, I'm serious. If your time is limited, I don't know if you want to hear about how Siba Geigy was dumping drums of stuff for decades.
A couple of
251,
John
it starts getting suspenseful. 251, when they start counting the childhood cancers in Toms River, and they see that there's a lot of them, and they try to figure out what's going on there. That's when it gets kind of gripping. So I had,
So it reads like a John Grisham, just less cuss words.
That's true. There are no cuss words. Well, I'm sure I was cursing behind the scenes, but he didn't quote me as doing that. So I developed something of a reputation as willing to take the unusual case or being creative. If there were something that seemed to be unfair and unjust, find a legal remedy. Find a way in the law to try to make it right. So in 2014, I was approached by a bunch of pharmacies in the Philadelphia area, an organization called PARD, Philadelphia Association of Retail Druggists. It's hundreds of pharmacies. And they wanted to talk about PBMs. I did not know what a PBM was. I'd never heard of what a PBM was. This is by discovery process when I learned to my astonishment about how this industry functions. And I spent about a year before we filed any lawsuit. I spent a year investigating the industry. I talked to everybody and anybody I could, talked to wholesalers, PSAOs, people at NCPA, National Community Pharmacy Association. I talked to, obviously, pharmacists. I talked to a former owner of a PBM. And I just kind of inhaled all this information. And I came to the conclusion, first of all, what they're doing can't be legal. It just can't be legal. we are taught in law school that business relationships are governed by contracts.
Right.
And contracts are supposed to have a certain level of mutual obligation.
Mm-hmm.
You do this and I'm going to do that, right?
Yep.
And you can't have a contract that says you're going to fill a prescription and I'll pay you whatever I want, and screw you if you don't like it. It just can't be that way.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't make sense. That can't be a legally enforceable contract. I'm not going to turn this into a law school lecture. And it was also clear to me that is exactly what happens. And it was also clear to me there was a study that just came out 2 weeks ago that reaffirmed this scientifically, that any relationship between the ingredient cost the PBM pays the pharmacy and the actual wholesale cost of acquiring that drug is purely coincidental. The PBM puts whatever price they want on the drug, doesn't matter what it costs the pharmacy. You don't like it, that's tough. We don't, go then terminate your relationship with us. And you have this ridiculous, absurd, one-sided relationship. So, I basically saw this going on. Said, I'll take this case. What they're doing is wrong. I think it's illegal. I think it's a meritorious case. All the work I've done in the years that followed says simply,
Mm-hmm.
and all the additional people I've spoken to, because I keep talking to people in the industry, has just confirmed everything I thought, and even more so.
So that's 9 years?
Yeah, the reason it's 9 years, it's embarrassing, frankly, it's 9 years, is because the judicial system is horrendously slow. And they use this, and we have a significant obstacle most people don't get in lawsuits, which is the arbitration clause. So arbitration is generally considered a good thing, because if you can stay out of court and go to arbitration, it's supposed to be faster. But what the PBMs did, they set up a system where they would win and they would screw people. And then they had to make, as part of that system, they had to make sure you couldn't hold them accountable in court. So they say you can't go to court, you have to go to arbitration.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the end of the world. We can go to arbitration. Except then they say, oh, there's 500 pharmacies. Each of you has to file a separate arbitration. We could have 500 pharmacies sue us in one case in court, but each of you has to file a separate arbitration and pay a separate filing fee of $5,000. Then each of you has to have a separate trial. And each of you has to pay 1/2 the cost of the arbitrators. And we have 3 arbitrators. So, and you can't get discovery, which means the arbitrator is not authorized to force us to give you the information that would help you prove your case against us. So basically, it is completely rigged and designed to make it impossible to win. And so nobody brings an arbitration because it's hopeless. And we have the additional hurdle, and most of our 9 years have been spent on this hurdle of saying this arbitration clause is unenforceable precisely because it's rigged, precisely because they make it impossible to win it, and precisely because they built it into their business model exactly to accomplish that. Basically, the business model is this: we're going to rip off a bunch of pharmacies, and they can't touch us because we're going to force them into arbitration where they can't win. That's the business model. Mm-hmm. There's no question about it. There's no doubt about it. So they're abusing the arbitration clause, and most of our litigation has been in getting courts to say, I'm not going to enforce this. This is ridiculous. And most of the time we've won on that. Not all, but most we've won on that. And we just won on that last week. And so we have some cases going forward now on the merits.
Okay.
To have the case heard by the court on the merits. Yes, they cheated us. Yes, they cheated us. Here we're going to prove they cheated us, because we can prove they cheated us in a number of ways.
So is that, what's the basis of that? Is it the contract's not fair because we don't really have a choice. So is that kind of an antitrust approach? What's the basis of the
Okay.
law?
Well, you used the right until you were doing great until you said antitrust, but of course you're not a lawyer, so that's fine. So the basis of calling the arbitration clause unconscionable and unenforceable and illegal is part of it is we had no choice. This isn't a negotiated contract. We didn't even sign it. They wrote it and shoved it down our throat. So that's part of it. That's what's called it's procedurally unconscionable because it was shoved down our throat. We had no choice. They didn't even sign it. We were bound to it. The moment you fill one prescription for Optum, you're bound to that arbitration clause. And the second part is that it is substantively unconscionable because it's one thing if we didn't have a choice, but we had a fair shot at winning anyway. But no, we don't have a fair shot at winning because they make it so expensive, deliberately make it so expensive that we can't win. It's too costly. If I've got a $200,000 claim, how am I going to pay $100,000 just in fees to have my case heard?
All right. So you get past the arbitration clause.
Right.
Okay. So you get that, hey, I can sue you. Right.
Right.
What am I suing you for?
Exactly. Okay. Several things. First of all, the MAC price. So I guess let me explain what MAC is, or does everybody know what MAC is?
I think it'd be okay. There might be some viewers who might not know.
So most generic drugs are paid for in what's called MAC, or maximum allowable cost. Now, that's an interesting word, maximum allowable cost. They violate that two ways. First of all, it's supposed to be a market-based MAC price. It is supposed to be based on objective, reliable wholesale pricing information, such as NADAC, the National Average Drug Acquisition Cost, which CMS puts out in a survey every month, such as reputable information from wholesalers. Their MAC price, as I said, has nothing to do with any wholesale cost. It is made up. It's whatever they want it to be. I've seen MAC prices at 50% of NADAC, at 20% of NADAC.
Wow.
It doesn't matter. And now, if the MAC price is too low, you're supposed to be able to take a MAC appeal. Oh, take a MAC appeal. There's state laws, like 30 state laws require MAC appeals, where if you're underpaid, you appeal and they can say, oh, whoops. Oh, we paid you, NADAC is $5 and, NADAC is $10. We paid you $5. Oh, we're going to fix that. Well, 95% of their appeals they reject. 95%. Even though we could prove in black and white they're wrong at least 80% of the time. Then it gets better. The 5% they grant, how about this? They say, well, we accepted that appeal. Let's look at this situation. NADAC is $10. They pay you $5. You appeal. They raise it to $5.50. Well, we granted that appeal. No, but you're still paying me below my cost.
Right.
They actually do that. They do this kind of nonsense.
Yeah, to me, it makes you wonder that they're not sitting back there a lot of times going at the end of each year, hey, we're gonna crank our dial down.
Yep.
As long as the end of next year our network's still big enough, the next year we're gonna crank it down some more. Just totally arbitrary.
You are. I have no doubt. I don't know what your background experience is, but that rings true to me absolutely. So here's the second thing they do with MAC. Okay, so that's the first thing, which is the MAC is disconnected from a valid wholesale benchmark, and it is often paid below the wholesale benchmark. Here's the second thing, maximum allowable cost. Okay, I'm going to ask both of you a question. What does maximum mean?
The very possible biggest number there is, right? Maximum.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Same drug, same health plan, okay? Same drug, same health plan, right? Same day, we're in the same day. Okay, patient walks into your store and you get paid $5.
Right.
Same patient. But it turns out you're right. Same patient walks into Walgreens, same drug, same health plan, gets $10. Did you get the maximum?
No.
That's what we say too. If you You put in the contract. Hey, you wrote this contract.
Right.
We're getting paid the maximum. Then we get the top dollar you pay anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an enormous amount of money. This is an enormous amount of money because we know there's tremendous variability in what they pay from provider to provider.
Do you think the big chains are getting paid a lot more than the independents are?
There's no doubt in my mind they are. I can't say that's true on every script.
Yeah.
But on average, there's no question about it.
So would the PBM come back and say, well, they're bigger, they were able to negotiate, that's free market?
Probably,
okay, and does that mean the word
volume.
Maximum changes definition?
Right.
It does.
And that's the problem, is the contract says maximum rather than saying, if it said,
Yeah,
it listed every drug and said what I was going to pay you. Yeah.
That's their problem. They said we're getting the maximum.
Yep.
That's their problem. So, they could have, they write the contract. There's fundamental principle of law. When you write the contract, it gets shoved, anything ambiguous or doubtful about it gets shoved right up your butt. You can't get out of it. So they wrote the contract. They said maximum. And here's the other thing. Maximum, first of all, maximum in and of itself, and believe me, I've looked it up in every dictionary I could, right? It not only means the highest, but it's an inherently singular number. You only can have one maximum, right?
Yep.
How can you have 10 maximums? Unless they're all tied for the maximum, right?
But
it can only be one number.
So they're not even defining. Yeah, because I'm in the same boat. Same thinking thought process that you are, is that maximum this is the maximum for this one product. So there should only be one maximum price.
Right.
But it's
how can you have more than one maximum
for one product?
Yep. Yeah.
And
that's their problem, because they won't do it against a benchmark. One way to write a contract is to say NADAC times this.
Right.
So
here's another point. My understanding is historically, and this I rely on our experts, that the term MAC originated out of the state Medicaid laws.
Okay.
And probably a law about I think one's called the federal upper limit. Well, guess what? If you look at every single state Medicaid MAC list, it's one price.
Right.
For each form. They don't say it's one price if you're in this managed care organization and it's one price. And it's the only thing that makes sense. It's the only thing that makes sense. In a free market, in a true free market economy with transparency and equal information, it should be one price, not 10. They're able to do this nonsense because everything is cloaked in a ironclad secrecy. I always tell everybody, this industry needs secrecy to exist, like you and I need oxygen to live. I mean, if people knew what the hell was going on
now
with
it's
these
making the
colors.
M and MAC made up pricing.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Manufactured
pricing.
It's a manufactured. It's so anyway. I think everyone who is not immersed in the industry, if you just tell them what's going on, they say, of course, it should only be one price. This is the drug. The wholesale variability, and even with generics, right? Obviously, with the manufacturer, there's one wholesale price out of a brand. He's only manufactured. But even within generics, the range of variability on wholesale prices is not that great. It's a pretty competitive market. It's not like this.
Right.
It's like this. But when you look at MAC prices that are paid by PBMs, it's like this. They're all over the place. There was a study, this study that just came out a week ago. Same pharmacy, same PBM, same day, same drug, duloxetine. The variability on 5 scripts went from $9 to $96. A generic drug, same PBM, same pharmacy, same day, $9 to $96. You know goddamn well that there's no way there's kind of variability.
So the PBM is paying based on their contract with their buyer, not based on the cost of the drug.
And more specifically, they're paying based on how their contract with their buyer allows the PBM to profit and skim money off.
Yep.
it's not how they can best benefit their buyer. It's how they can best screw up the system to siphon off as much money they can. And they manipulate all these prices solely for that purpose.
So let's talk about some numbers. How many different cases do you have going on right now?
Well, we represent 1,100 pharmacies. We have lawsuits in 5 states.
Okay.
California, Illinois. The most active ones right now are California, Illinois, and Wisconsin. Oh, California, Illinois, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, 4 states.
Okay.
We have lawsuits right
And there's
now.
some future, because I think I saw Texas, just because I would think about Texas. Was there ongoing cases in various Wisconsin, Illinois, Texas?
So in Texas, the legalities of this might get a little boring. Optum sued us because we were beating them on their arbitration clause. So they say, you know what? We want to pick the court. So they filed lawsuits against us in Texas to force it. They filed a case think about how crazy this is. They went to a judge to say, we want you to order these pharmacies to arbitrate before we ever sued them.
Right.
Before we ever sued them, they said, we want you to order these pharmacies to arbitrate. And they did that basically to bust our chops, because now instead of going after them, we have to defend these pharmacies in Texas and Florida and Alabama and California. So they did that, and boom, the court threw it out. And they appealed. The court said, you can't just sue them. They didn't do anything.
Right. Well, they were saying, we think they're about to sue us, and
they
we
were
want
trying to be preemptive and get ahead of you.
They had to say that you had threatened to sue them.
That's a superb analysis.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Try to be preemptive and get ahead of us.
Yeah.
And so court, they tried, get the hell out of here. Basically said,
And
get the hell out
Optum
of
is
here.
your
That's
Optum's your main target today?
Yeah. I mean, there is plenty of misconduct by all the PBMs. We all know that. They all present different challenges for attack. CVS Caremark, to my knowledge, is undefeated in enforcing their arbitration clause. We'll see how that continues or not, because a class action was just filed against them a week ago. But we've beaten Optum's arbitration clause 4 times. So I think they're more vulnerable.
Is that because that the CVS, is that the arbitration clause better? Just better written or better defended?
In my opinion, it is less easy to challenge than Optum's. You could call it better written or worse written. It's an obnoxious clause, don't get me wrong. But they weren't as piggish as Optum was.
Are you working with other law firms in these other various states?
Yes.
To get and so you gave a number. Is all the pharmacies that you're 1,100 pharmacies? Thank you. Yes. So is that spread out amongst all the states that you're working with? I mean, is there any other that are starting to kind of jump on the train with this, or?
Yeah. Well, did I mention Wisconsin?
You did not.
I don't think
no,
so.
you
didn't. Okay. All right. So Illinois, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and California, we have ongoing offensive cases where we're going after them. We're playing defense in Alabama, Florida, and Texas. Yeah, we're playing defense in those states. Here's the thing about states, right? Bottom line is that regardless of where your pharmacy is, you can sue them in California. And you probably should sue them in California at this point. That's their home state. That is the law that governs the contract. And it's also a state that is very sympathetic to small businesses fighting big businesses.
Yep.
So we kind of wound up in Wisconsin and Illinois by happenstance. But I would anticipate any future cases, regardless where the pharmacy is, we would bring the cases in California.
So if they had been successful in Texas, Texas saying they're going to force you to arbitrate in Texas, you could have sued them. Texas people could have sued them in California. Still,
no, we would have had to arbitrate.
Okay.
If they were successful, the Texas pharmacies they sued would be forced to one by one arbitrate, which in a situation would be absolutely economically unfeasible and prohibitive. Basically, okay, you have $150,000. We underpaid you by $150,000. You go and file an arbitration. Each of you has to go file separate arbitrations and have a good time, and we will paper you to death and bleed you to death.
If you'd have sued them first in California,
yeah,
with pharmacies in Texas,
would they
and then
be
they
able
came
to...
after to try to force you to arbitrate in Texas, would that have been?
We would have told the Texas court, let the California court decide it. They have the case already, and that's what would have happened.
So
Texas, what do you want me to do? I got a case in California, litigate this in California. They were trying to, the lawyers' expression is forum shopping. They were shopping for a more favorable court. So they did beat us to the punch there, but ultimately they failed in Texas. So they failed in Alabama.
So we are trying to sue today in California.
Correct.
So why wouldn't you have 20,000 pharmacies signed up together? Why is it 1,100 and not 20,000?
I've asked myself that question about 1 million times. I don't know why. I'm disappointed. I tell everybody I represent 1,000. I should represent 10,000. I think that a lot of pharmacies are concerned they'd be retaliated against if they joined a lawsuit, that they'd be subjected to punitive and predatory audits. And all I can say is, from all the information I've gotten from my 1,000 clients, they have not been treated any worse than anybody else.
So you've reached out to a lot more, and a lot of people told you, no, we just don't want to be involved.
Well, I can't read people's minds.
Right. Yeah.
I definitely get a vibe that people are worried about retaliation, and all I tell them is this: look, I can't guarantee you there won't be retaliation. I can only say that in 8 or 9 years of litigation for hundreds of pharmacies, I've not experienced that. And the whole premise, when we started with 500. The reason we started with 500 is their strength in numbers. They're not going to terminate 500 pharmacies.
Right.
They may terminate 1 or 2. And obviously, if we got the 1,000 up to 10,000, obviously, they're not going to do that. So I still, I hope that through outreach and podcasts like those other things, people can contact me, and we're still taking on clients. We're still doing it on a contingent basis.
Right. So it doesn't cost you anything.
That we require is minimal, if any.
Okay. Well,
and I still want to send a message, and the more we get, the better the message we send.
So we average about 4,000 viewers a month, listeners. Kudos to you guys. And things happen. Like, we've already helped one
we have
thing.
about 10,000 pharmacies.
And we have 10,000 pharmacies. And so if somebody wants to jump on the wagon and reach out to you and be a part of this, what is the first step? Who do they reach out to? What's the website? What's a phone number? What's an email?
I'm going to give you my cell phone number, okay? I hope you're right. 215-266-5717. You can email me. I'm going to give you the easy email address.
Okay.
Mark, M-A-R-K, at Cukerlaw, CUKERLAW.com. Just email me or call me, and you'll get I'm sure I will do everything possible to get back to you in 24 hours.
Yeah. I mean, to me, this is revolutionary war. This is a decision. Am I going to, hide in my house, right? Or I'm gonna grab a musket and head out,
Well, you want to put it in terms that also, besides the, are you going to hide in your pharmacy and let the PBMs put you out of business? And also in the same, like anybody who has watched the Aaron Brockovich movie, are you going to continue to drink the poisonous water that's going to give you and your family cancer and inevitably kill you?
So Caremark's hard. You're going to have to Optum.
Mm-hmm.
What about some of the others? If Optum's a success.
So Express Scripts has a clause that says you can sue them in court, but you have to sue them in Missouri, which is their hometown.
Mm-hmm.
That's enforceable. And again, you have to bring separate lawsuits for each pharmacy. So Caremark's lost 3 major arbitrations over DIR fees. They got banged big time 3 times by arbitration panels or single arbitrators. One was the AIDS Health Foundation case. One was, I think, Mission Wellness, and I forget the name of the third right now. But 3 arbitrators found basically their whole DIR system is to
One-sided.
use the technical term BS. It's just
Another made up.
arbitrary, capricious,
Another made up
irrational,
pricing.
So
unfair.
the DEIR group lawsuit that's happening right now that just got kicked off, what PBM's that against? Do you know?
Caremark.
Okay. And they beat the arbitration clause, right? In order to, because that's a class action lawsuit, or they're
That
trying.
had not been decided yet.
Okay.
They're going to get a motion to compel arbitration, and the federal judge there will decide that. They haven't gotten past that at all yet. Excuse me. And so there is a there's a unholy relationship between Express Scripts and Prime Therapeutics,
Right.
which may be the subject of a lawsuit, but I can't say anything more about that
Right.
than what I just said. And because as I'm sure your watchers know, Prime basically outsourced all its pricing to Express Scripts. Prime, as far as I know, had been a reasonable payer.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically cut this corrupt bargain with Express Scripts, and I think that raises some serious questions under the antitrust laws as to whether that's legal.
Interesting. So what's the upside for the 1,100 pharmacies? Are we talking they're going to go through all this and they're going to get $20, like you do when you get the thing in the mail and says, "Hey, they've won." Send
We'll
to
be blasting it for sure.
get your $2.
Yeah.
So what's the upside?
Okay, well, first of all, let me just go about the downside. Okay, if you're getting driven out of business anyway, you might as well fight back. What do you care about retaliation if you're getting driven out anyway? So, I think that so there's several different measures. Let me go back. We left out another thing we're suing for. All right, we're suing for the DIR fees.
Oh, okay, excellent. Okay.
So that's, I would say, for the average independent, probably pays Optum DIR fees of about $20,000 a year. I'm sure there's a huge amount of variability. This is my rough ballpark estimate. $20,000 a year. We're going back 4 years. I would say the harm we can show just be resulting from being underpaid on MAC below wholesale is probably at least $1.50 a generic prescription.
Okay.
So for the average pharmacy, that's probably about another $18,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at, if we were to recover how much less you're being paid than Walgreens, it's multiples of that. But I'd say the average pharmacy, if we go back 4 years, could reasonably expect to collect, if we're successful, $100,000 or more.
Mm-hmm. And
Possibly
possibly
more,
change,
depending on the other claims. Pardon?
and force change in what happens going forward?
Well,
Are they just going to change their arbitration clause?
That's a critical question. I cannot get a court order to force change going forward.
Right.
But part of the goal is by simply bringing these cases and exposing this wrongdoing, it will cause change because the FTC is looking at them with a microscope. Congress is looking at them with a microscope. And if we add pressure, it will collectively create a situation where change can happen. And we can add to that. But I can't get a court order that causes change to go forward. It's just the pressure should help lead to that.
So it sounds like you've had, in your firms, had a successful career.
Mm-hmm.
You seem like, to me, this seems more passion for you than job.
Well, you obviously got to pay the bills and got to make a living, but I became a lawyer to try to, it's pretty trite, but try to make the world a better place.
Mm-hmm.
And more importantly, to represent people, the little guy, the underdog who was fighting a big corporate giant.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and again, this really appealed to me because I could relate to the situation of small business owners. My dad used to say, I don't own a small business. I don't own a business. The business owns me. And I know that's true of a lot of my clients.
Mm-hmm.
And these people deliver vital services critical to people's health to a community that otherwise would be stuck with frigging mail order or, having a script filled by a CVS tech during a lunch break that is just unacceptable. I mean, all all our ideals about a free market choice. What's consumers supposed to have choice? They should, I want to use my neighborhood pharmacy. I know them. They know me. I know that they'll deliver if I need it. I know if I need an emergency, they'll open the store in the middle of the night if I need it. Don't force me to go to mail order and deal with somebody.
Well, not just that,
in Pakistan when I have a problem.
Well, I mean, not just that. So, like, I had a bad example where I was on military insurance, and I went to go get a prescription filled for my son, and I'm like, this doesn't look like the box you gave me last time, and it was for his asthma. And it turned out that it was a much higher dose than what he was given for an infant, mind you. And when I got home and I looked at the dosage, I'm like, he's been on 5 milligrams and you just gave me a box for 15 milligrams. Yeah. This is going to send him through the roof. What's it going to do to his little body? And with retail and independence, you actually get pharmacists that care about, hey, this is the actual drug that was dispensed and this is what I gave you.
Yeah. Well, I hope the message that's changing, a couple of years ago, you would hear the PBMs and the big chains just say, oh, they're just whining because their cost structure's out of whack, right? They're little bitty. They can't compete on their cost structure like we can as big Walgreens, big CVS. But what everybody should be angry about is what we're hearing is they're paying, it's not their cost structure, they're paying them half of what they're paying everybody else, right?
That is damn right. That is absolutely right. It's absurd. My clients, I got clients, they're 2 blocks from a CVS. They would beat the crap out of CVS because they have tremendous customer loyalty, and this system is being rigged to drive the little guys out of business. They want all those prescription dollars going into their mail order. Their greed is limitless. And if there was a Nobel Prize for greed, they'd give it to the PBMs because they find every which way to skim every fraction of a penny out of every transaction. And that's just what part of this is. So, this business, a lot of people have said it's not supposed to be health insurance, it's supposed to be health care, right?
Right.
You're supposed to be delivering wellness, right? The ultimate goal is wellness.
Right.
Is keeping people healthy or making them healthy when they're sick. It's not supposed to be lining your pockets and you don't give a good goddamn about what happens to the patient as long as you make more profit. Right. What the hell is that?
Well, and the other interesting thing in that drugs aren't insurance anymore. There's no risk. PBM's not taking any risk.
Well, it is utterly shocking. You could do a whole other show on how many times it's cheaper to buy a drug without using your insurance.
Yep. And that's only going to explode in January.
Everybody has that story. My wife has that story. Everybody has that story. So I am paying an arm and a leg in insurance premiums for what?
Right. So the PBMs can pad their pockets.
Put their premiums in their pocket, and I go out of pocket to buy my drugs. What the hell is that? It's sort of like, you cannot believe this has been allowed to go on for as long as it has. But finally, it does have the attention of the media to some extent and of Congress, the FCC and other government entities. So let's hope it continues to get their attention and they really do something forceful about it.
Well, we hope hopefully one day there's the book. Hopefully one day we see you on NBC News.
Yes.
We really just
the Today Show.
Thank you
everything.
For choosing. I know, a lot of times lawyers, they kind of have that.
I have one question.
Hold on. You can say that after this. They kind of spread all the possible cases out on a desk and they choose the one that they expect's the easiest and going to make them the most money. And I just wanted to say thank you for choosing ours. And
well, thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk about this. Hopefully continue to stimulate more interest. Like I said, we'd like to get a lot more than 1,100 we have, and hopefully we'll get some more interest.
We hope this is our most watched episode ever.
Yes, and,
all right, now
I've already got ideas on how we can even further blast this.
Why don't you tell everybody that Taylor Swift is also watching? That no
Taylor
doubt
Swift
the
will
audience.
be watching this episode.
We started off arguing about Taylor Swift and football.
That's well, Jason Kelsey, I'll just say Jason Kelsey's an Eagle, so I'm in Philly, so I should have a Jason Kelsey picture, and maybe we have a half a chance. Getting Taylor on board.
So you did say something interesting. I wanted to just circle back to real quick. And it's just, you said, because this is something that pharmacy runs into a lot, they get bullied into contracts. You're right, they do. So what would be your 2 words of wisdom, your 2 advice for, hey, before you call this vendor or this wholesaler or this PBM, what are the 2 words of wisdom that they should look out for before signing getting bullied into a contract?
I think they're going to have to just say no. I mean, I think there's some contracts that are so onerous, they're just going to have to just say no. Mm-hmm. and take the risk that if enough people say no, the PBMs will bend.
It's just hard.
I don't
you look
think
at a lot of them, it's a 30-year business.
I don't think it's logical for me to go through the boilerplate of a contract to say, look out for this and look out for that in this setting.
Because they don't have a choice.
Early
they can
on,
just say no.
They're actually, by bullying you into signing that contract, you said the actual legal term that they're actually...
they just don't have a choice. He said they don't have a choice.
They're
either going to sign the contract or not.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a lack of meaningful choice in your contracting means it's procedurally unconscionable.
Yep. Well, Mark, we hope to stay in touch.
Yes.
And kind of follow this go along. Maybe we'll put a section on our website. We kind of keep up with what's going on. I know the
if you do that, could you just send me the link for it? So I'd like to see it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Nope. Love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. No, I've already got so many ideas on how to just blow this up even further than any other episode we've done.
That doesn't include Taylor Swift.
We can
I'd be more than happy to have a follow-up call offline if you're really serious about that.
Yep.
Just let me know.
We are?
Absolutely.
Great.
All right. Have a
Mark,
great day.
Thank you so much.
Thanks again.
Thank you. Nice
Have
meeting you both.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for watching the Catalyst Pharmacy Podcast.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, and follow us wherever you get your podcast.
Give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts to help us reach more pharmacy professionals like you.